Hey everyone, welcome to another NHD topic tip. In this one, I'm going to be focusing on the question of, can I do a European history topic for my NHD project? And the answer is yes. NHD doesn't restrict topics based on geography or time. We want you to find a topic that interests you and that you enjoy researching. Now that being said, you need to check with your teacher because they may have certain rules or parameters for what types of projects you can do in the classroom. So always be sure to check in with the teacher about the topic you've selected to see if it's okay for your class. Now, when it comes to European history, we have to consider a couple of things. One is the language barrier. Now, with the exception of Ireland and Great Britain, Scotland, and Wales, most European countries do not speak English. And for the most part, you're going to find that their records are in their native languages. So if you don't speak Italian, German, or French, it might be a little more difficult to do a project on something that you don't understand on a linguistic level. So you really want to consider that. I strongly encourage, if you don't know any of those languages and you want to do a topic on European history, to think about doing maybe something in Britain or Ireland, or to consider one of those other countries like France, Germany, or Italy, or even somewhere in Eastern Europe, such as Poland. Right? If you don't speak Polish, you may need to think about creative ways to involve those countries you want to learn more about to avoid that language barrier. And one of the ways to do that is to consider the interactions of that country with a country that does speak English. So maybe you look at British-Polish national interactions, or you look at American and French alliances throughout the ages. These are ways to get around that language barrier. Now, if you do know French, German, Italian, Polish, or any other European language, more power to you. Get started on a European NHD topic. If you're an ELL student and you're learning English for the first time, you might feel more comfortable researching a topic in which you can cross-check and make sure that you're not only improving your English skills, but working with a language that you already know. Once you've made the decision to do a European topic for NHD, where do you start? So there are two ways to go about this. The first one is exploring US-based archives. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, but you can find European sources in US-based archives. So you're going to want to check in a couple of places. First, you're going to want to head over to the Library of Congress and see what they have. Fun tip, actually, the Library of Congress hosts the largest collection of British cartoons in North America. If you want to do something on British history, that's a great place to check out and see what political cartoons they have relating to your topic. You also want to check university archives. Historians work at universities and they need collections if they study Europe. And so many universities pull together different pieces of European collections and house them here. Some examples of that are Stanford University and their French Revolution Digital Archive. Yale University hosts a large British museum. Brown University focuses on Spanish and the history of Spain. So these are different ways you can think about using universities in the US and checking out what archives they have. So let's just take a quick virtual tour of one of those types of archives so you can see what I mean. So we're going to take a quick virtual tour over to Stanford University's French Revolution Digital Archive. Welcome to Stanford University's French Revolution Digital Archive, which you can find at frda.stanford.edu. And it will take you to their landing page. So this collaboration pulls together all of the materials that Stanford University Libraries has on the French Revolution. So it has both parliamentary archives, so this means anything issued by parliament deliberations, reports, speeches, first-hand accounts. But they also have images of the French Revolution. You want to check out both of those archives to see what's available in this archive. So if we go ahead and click on that images of the French Revolution, it's going to bring us here and it's going to help us do a search. So you can go ahead and do that search and you can limit down your search parameters, or you can go ahead and hit that browse button. And in that browse button, you're going to be able to see that they've categorized the various images into a number of topics. And it'll tell you under each one how many items are in a specific topic collection. So this will give you a lot to work with when you're doing your preliminary research into the French Revolution. All right, remember when I said that there were a couple creative ways you could do European history with a different perspective? Well, one of those is to consider how these European countries have interacted with the United States. So for instance, you might head over to the National Archives Presidential Libraries. Now this houses presidential libraries for all of the presidents of the 20th century. This will not cover people like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, who did have relationships with France and Britain. It's going to cover those 20th century presidents. But we may want to investigate what was Gerald Ford's relationship with the United Kingdom. And we do know that there's a ton of materials relating to Margaret Thatcher's visit to the United States. So maybe you might look at the relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States under the Ford administration. That's a creative way to think about not only how countries interact, but it gives you both a United States and a British perspective in your project. You can also do this with France. The United States has had a long-standing alliance with France. You might also do this with a European country that the United States has had maybe a little less than diplomatic relationship with. For instance, you might look at Germany and the United States' relationship during World War II. Another great place to check out is the Newberry Library in Chicago. So the Newberry Library has a European history and literature landing page, and you can see all of the things that the library has collected in relation to European history on their website. Now, the other way to start doing research is to go to those European archives. For the most part, NHD is a US-based program, and most of our partners focus on US history. But we have started to branch out and reach out to some of our European partners to see if they have collections that they'd like to share with NHD teachers and students. So you're going to want to head over to nhd.org/partner resources. Our partner resources page houses the numerous organizations that NHD partners with to help curate different sources and resources for you to use as you research your NHD project. So if you scroll down, you'll see that we've added the British Library. So you can go ahead and check out the British Library's online exhibitions, which are available for viewing, or you can check out their Discovering Literature or Discovering Their Sacred Text if maybe you're interested in topics like illuminated manuscripts. So these online exhibitions provided by the British Library will help you understand a variety of topics, from the evolution of writing to medieval literature to even the Renaissance. And of course, it doesn't just stop there. If you head over to catalogs and collections and you go to the digital collections, you can see what collections have been digitized at the British Library. They have a host of map collections for you to check out on a variety of areas. Now remember, these are British maps of the world. So they've been designed by the British to help you see how they see the rest of the world, whether it's Africa, Asia, or the Americas. Additionally, they have a British newspaper archive that you can check out. Think of this like the British version of Chronicling America. If you've used Chronicling America before, you'll know that you can browse through various local newspapers across the United States. This is a British version of that to help you check out what was in local news in the United Kingdom. Alright, so there's a couple of other places we can check out to get our researches started. You can go to europeana.edu, which hosts collections, galleries, and historical blog posts to help you understand a variety of European topics that may interest you and that you want to do more research into. You'll definitely want to check out the National Archives of the United Kingdom if you're doing a project on Northern Ireland, the United Kingdom, or even Ireland, given their past interactions. You'll also want to check out the National Archives of Ireland if you're interested in Irish history. So now that I've given you all of those places to start, let's take a look at a possible European history example that we could do for an NHD project. So I want to focus on the Easter Rising that happened in Ireland in 1916. So the Easter Rising in Ireland in 1916, also known as the Easter Rebellion, was the rising up of Irish protesters that wanted to overthrow British control of Ireland and form a united Ireland. Now, to this day, Ireland is not a united country. Northern Ireland still exists as part of the UK, but this was one attempt that they had. So where might I start my research? I know it's an Irish topic, so I'm going to want to head over to the National Archives of Ireland. So I've decided to head over to Ireland's National Archives, which you can find at nationalarchives.ie. And I started poking into what they have that relates to the Easter Rising in 1916. And what I stumbled across is a discussion and a highlight of various reports in which British officials were paying close attention to Irish volunteers that they felt were radicals of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. And what they did was, in these reports, they tracked their movements of where they were going to make sure that they weren't planning anything. I know that this might be a good source and a good place to start doing more investigations into the Irish Easter Rising of 1916. So that's one way to start thinking about how to do a European history topic for NHD. Happy researching and good luck with your NHD project.